Hey YouTube, so if you missed yesterday's video, what I did yesterday was I took my Patreon video, which used to be unlisted, switched it to public, which seems to have added it to my video list as being published yesterday, but I think didn't actually notify subscribers. So that was yesterday's video if you're wondering what happened to that. Today's topic is actually the way that detail can scale to time. And what I mean by this is that when we try to figure out how long something's going to take, we very often can come at it from the other approach. So if you've watched my channel for a while, you've seen in cases where I'll program a little game, depending on the type, especially very rudimentary ones, in 5 minutes, in 8 minutes, for a little more elaborate one, a little more spelled out, maybe an hour and a half. But those same projects can very much be the foundation for a multi-year project. So the same thing can also happen. You can take a multi-year project, something like, I don't know, Skyrim or first-person shooter, and you can crank out a half-an-hour version in which it's incredibly crude, incredibly scaled back. But the reason why I say it scales is that any one of those projects, there's like the half-an-hour version, there's like the 5-year version. And usually what happens when we try to schedule our projects, so like for Game Keto Club, or before that when I was running GameDev, before that Game Creation Society, in each of these cases what happens is we figure out, okay, we have a 5-month schedule. Say, as an example, something's a little more, something's a little less. And for each week, we're going to put a post in the ground and say, here is the milestone we need to be at for that week. And if you wonder how do we know we can fit that in? Partly it's experience having worked on games before, but part of it also is to realize that, okay, well, in a given week, if we say, enemy added, just as an example, and we have a week to do that, well, then we're going to find the version that we can pull off in the time we're able to spare in a week, which, because these are projects we do on the side, it's not like anybody's throwing a 40-hour work week at it. It really comes down to whether we have a few hours here, whether half an hour before the meeting. Whenever it is, we're going to find a way to pack that in there. And by spreading it across the schedule like that, in terms of scaling each task to the 1-week version of that task, we've kind of decided the scale, scope, and complexity and style of our game, as well as the amount we're willing to invest into it. And what makes this really powerful is that it means that when we're trying to do these stepping stone things, like I talk about, I don't know if you've heard in other talks, Vision by Proxy, where we did there's a super free version done for a class, built in a few weeks, part of an assignment. That did well enough to build a more sophisticated, bigger version from scratch. That did well enough to do a total sequel on the new engine. And that's something which emerged from, again, you can do the tiny version, the medium version, the bigger version. That any given project has this sort of scale to it. The other reason to think about this is that when you're picking a timeline, so again, in our club, typically, short side maybe a month or two, longer side maybe 5 months, give or take. When we're doing that, what we're really figuring out is not just what kind of game we want to build, but what kind of game can we do kind of reasonable justice to in that time period. Because especially, like I say, you can do a half-hour version of kind of any game. It's very thrown together, very not nice. You could do a 5-month version of anything, even if it's a game that really, to do it justice, should take multiple years or full-time people or so on. That's why you don't see us trying to pull off 5-month versions of, like, Uncharted. Just wouldn't be what people want out of it. And instead we'll look at something like a tower defense game, like a platformer, like a overhead adventure game, like a puzzle game in first person, and then stretch out from that, 1 week at a time, 1 month at a time. How do we fit and scale the available energy we have that week into the version of the task we're able to pull off, and it just keeps us on track. And that's really all there is to it. There's no more magic to the schedule besides realizing that in the same way as each game has a small version and a huge version, every single week's milestone can also have small and big versions. But anyway, that's the end of today's video. Catch y'all tomorrow.